my mother said. I wish I was never born. So I considered myself dead and walked away forever. Hi, I'm Kai, 31, and 5 months ago my mother said to my face, I wish you were never born. So I told her, consider me dead. What followed wasn't a fight. It was a funeral, with them burying the version of me that still hoped they'd ever see me. You ever grow up as the extra kid? The one they kept fed and clothed but never quite noticed? That was me. My younger brother, Nate, was the golden boy. He could literally pour orange juice into a bowl of cereal, and my mom would call him creative. I got straight A's and she'd ask, why not all A+? I learned early not to expect anything big. But I still hoped. Like on birthdays, maybe they'd surprise me. But Nate always got the new bike, the weekend trip, the big party. I got socks. Or once, a box of granola bars. Your favorite, they said. I was 8. Still, I stayed polite. Helpful. Tried harder. That's the sickest part. When you're starved for love, you learn to do tricks for crumbs. I did well in school, landed scholarships, worked full-time through college, and got a decent job in logistics. Nothing flashy, but stable. Nate? Got a car at 16. Flunked out of college. Moved back home at 25 and worked on his startup, which is code for sleeping until noon and tweeting about grindset culture from our parents' basement. Mom called it his journey. I called it freeloading. When I bought my first house, I invited them all over for dinner. Cleaned like mad. Cooked everything myself. Nate walked in, looked around, and said, nice. Starter vibe. You'll upgrade someday. My parents laughed. I smiled. Died a little inside. Still, I kept showing up. Holidays, birthdays, Father's Day, even when it felt like I was just a seat filler in the background of Nate's highlight reel. Then came the moment that broke whatever was left of me. It was 2 days before Nate's engagement party. My parents called and asked if I could contribute. I assumed they meant helping set up or maybe baking something. Nope. They wanted money. $2,000. For extras, they said. Nate wasn't contributing because, in Mom's words, he's focusing on the proposal. His mind's full. I laughed. Thought it was a joke. When I realized it wasn't, I calmly said no. That's when Mom said it. I don't know why you're being so difficult. Sometimes I wish you were never born. There was this pause. Like time hiccuped. Then I said it back. Cool. Consider me dead. And just like that, the switch flipped. Every polite instinct I had drained out of me. That moment was the last breath of the version of me who begged to be included. What followed? Total lockdown. I blocked them all. Phone, email, socials. Didn't explain. Didn't warn. Just vanished like I never existed. Nate's party went on without me. Then the consequences started stacking, and fast. 3 days after Nate's party, I got a knock on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I let the doorbell cam show me what I already suspected. It was my Aunt Teresa. The family fixer. The one they always send in like a diplomat when things go nuclear. I didn't answer. She left a card. Literally a handwritten card, like we were in the 1800s. Inside it said, they're hurting. They didn't mean it. Please don't punish them for being human. I tossed it in the recycling without even opening the envelope all the way. Human? That's what we're calling 31 years of neglect now. Just a little case of the OL humanity? Week 1 of my vanishing act was peaceful. The kind of peace you don't notice until you realize how loud your life used to be. No calls, no guilt trips, no. Your brother's just struggling, no, can you help with anything? My phone was blissfully silent. I slept better than I had in years. Week 2? Not so quiet. The passive-aggressive emails started trickling in through my work account. Nate somehow figured out the domain. His first message was, really mature, ghosting your family over a single comment. His second one was just a YouTube link to some podcast about mental resilience. I didn't reply. Just flagged it as spam and moved on. Week 3? Mom found Lily. Lily is my girlfriend of 4 years, the kind of person who makes you believe maybe your life doesn't have to be a punishment. She's kind, hilarious, and sharp in ways that scare my boss and my ex. Also, she doesn't take crap from anyone. So when Mom started texting her, at work, mind you, saying things like, "Can you convince Kai to come home?" and We just miss our boy. Lily didn't fold. She showed me every message, her face unreadable. You want me to reply? She asked. No, I said. I want you to block her. Don't let them use you as a backdoor. She nodded. Already done. Lily didn't ask me to explain. She didn't give me a speech about forgiveness or healing. She just said, Do you want pancakes or eggs? That was the moment I realized I hadn't just escaped my old family, I'd built a new one. Then week 4 hit. That's when they started escalating. Nate showed up at my office. This dude, who hasn't held a steady job since Obama's first term, waltzed into my building like he was there to pitch a merger. Security called up like, there's a man here claiming to be your brother? I went down, saw him in the lobby, and all I said was, Leave now or I'll treat this like trespassing. He tried to fake laugh, do the whole, Dude, chill, we're family thing. I didn't flinch. We were, I said. Now we're just people who used to live in the same house. Goodbye. Then I turned and walked away. And you know what? It felt incredible. Like reclaiming a piece of yourself that you didn't even know had been stolen. But of course, it didn't stop there. That night, I came home to find a letter taped to my front door. Not slid in the mailbox. Taped. Centered. Like a horror movie prop. Thick cream envelope, calligraphy handwriting, definitely Mom's. I stared at it for a full minute, debating whether to read it or set it on fire. Lily came out with a glass of wine and raised an eyebrow. Is that a royal summons? Close, I said. It's probably either an apology or emotional blackmail. Turned out it was both. I opened it because I wanted the receipts. 4 pages, front and back. It started with, Kai, we miss you. Followed by a Shakespearean soliloquy on family duty, misunderstood intentions, and you guessed it, how Nate was just going through a sensitive time. There was a paragraph about how everyone expresses love differently, followed by a casual reminder that I'd always been stronger and less needy. Then came the kicker. We may not have shown it equally, but we love you equally. Right. Like handing one kid a trust fund and the other a rake and saying, We both got tools. The final paragraph said, Let's move past all this unpleasantness. Nate and Brooklyn, his fiancée, are still planning the wedding. There's a seat for you at the head table, if you're ready to come home. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I didn't even rage. I went inside, made a copy of the letter, filed it under future evidence, and shredded the original. Because it wasn't an apology. It was a brand new performance. One where I was supposed to take my cue, re-enter the stage, and deliver the line. It's okay, I forgive you. Instead, I changed the script. The next day, I emailed my parents. Subject line, closure. I kept it short. You told me I was difficult. Jealous. Ungrateful. Then you told me you wished I was never born. So now I'm granting you your wish. I'm not dead, but I'm gone. And I won't be at the wedding. I won't be at future birthdays. I won't be on call when Nate's next startup tanks, and you need someone to bail him out. You made your choice. I'm just finally respecting it. Then I signed it with my full name. No. Love. No. From. Not even a. Take care. Just Kai Langston. They didn't respond. But 2 days later, a car rolled up outside my house. And guess who stepped out? Brooklyn's dad. Yeah. The father-in-law of my golden boy brother. This man had never spoken to me. Now he was standing on my lawn in a Patagonia vest asking if I had a moment. And let me tell you, that conversation changed everything. Brooklyn's dad introduced himself like we were in a job interview. Firm handshake. Calm smile. Real estate magnate energy. I offered him a seat on the porch, more curious than hostile. I wanted to speak to you directly, he said, crossing one leg over the other like this was a negotiation. There's a lot of noise. I figured I'd go to the source. About what? I asked, even though I already knew. He got straight to the point. My daughter is marrying into your family. Or she was. But after what she's seen, after what I've seen, I have some concerns. I blinked. And you came here to tell me that? He shrugged. You're the only one in the story acting like an adult. I almost choked on my coffee. Turns out, Brooklyn's parents had caught wind of the drama when their daughter came home from the engagement party fuming. According to her, the party was a disaster. The house was chaotic. My parents were stressed and scrambling because a certain someone didn't contribute financially. Apparently, Mom blamed the scaled-down backyard version of the party on me, said I. Bailed on family responsibilities. And left them high and dry. Except Brooklyn's dad wasn't buying it. Because here's what he had noticed. His daughter's fiancé, Nate, had no job, no plan, no initiative, and parents who coddled him like a toddler in a tiara. I asked your parents about the situation, he said. They said you were unstable. That you'd had an emotional breakdown. That you cut off contact out of nowhere. I said nothing. He looked at me, sharp and steady. But then I found your LinkedIn. Read your articles. Saw your work history. Kai, you're the most stable person in this whole mess. I raised an eyebrow. So what now? You want me to give a TED talk at their wedding? Reassure the family I'm not hiding bodies in my backyard? He chuckled. I just want to know what really happened. So I told him. Not everything, but enough. The favoritism. The gaslighting. The final straw, the comment that detonated it all. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he exhaled and muttered, Jesus. Then he said, You know, I told Brooklyn something similar last week. That I wasn't comfortable giving my blessing unless I understood the full family picture. And if this is what it looks like. He didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. He stood up, brushed imaginary lint from his slacks, and said, You don't owe them anything. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry you had to build your whole life uphill while your brother got a lift to the top. Then he left. No false promises. No Hallmark moment. Just honesty. I sat there stunned. For the first time in my life, a parental figure looked at my story and said, You're right. This isn't okay. I wish I could say I felt triumphant. Vindicated. But mostly, I felt tired. Not in a defeated way, in the way you feel after holding your breath for 31 years and finally exhaling. That night, Lily and I watched a movie and didn't talk about it. We didn't need to. She could tell something had shifted. Then, 2 days later, Nate showed up again. And this time, he wasn't yelling. He was begging. When I opened the door, Nate looked like a kid who'd just been called to the principal's office. No swagger. No smirk. Just red eyes, hoodie half-zipped, and the stench of panic clinging to him like cologne. Can we talk? He said, voice raw. I stepped outside but didn't invite him in. What, you lose your allowance again? He flinched. Brooklyn's dad is threatening to call off the wedding. Ah. There it was. He says I'm not prepared for a real partnership. That I haven't demonstrated maturity or financial independence. And then he brought you up. Said you were the example? You. I blinked. Let me get this straight. You've had a free ride your whole life, but suddenly I'm the problem because someone noticed? He rubbed his hands through his hair. I know I've messed up, okay? I know things were unfair. I didn't ask to be the favorite. That got me. I crossed my arms. No, you didn't ask. You just never questioned it. You let them hand you everything while I earned it. You coasted on their blind loyalty while I got lectures about grit and being self-reliant. And you never once looked up to say, hey, maybe this isn't fair. His voice cracked. I didn't know how. I stared at him. For once, he wasn't defensive. He wasn't dodging blame or cracking jokes. He looked like someone who had no idea what the hell came next. Brooklyn says I need therapy, he added. And a job. And boundaries with mom and dad. I raised an eyebrow. Sounds like Brooklyn wants to marry a man, not a man-child. He laughed, bitter and brief. She said if I want to build a future with her, I have to stop living in a house built on denial. Honestly? Respect. I'm seeing a counselor next week, he said. And I'm applying to, like, real jobs. Corporate stuff. Entry level. I even dusted off my resume. That's a start, I said. I didn't smile. I didn't congratulate him. Growth doesn't get a parade on day one. He looked at me carefully. Are we ever going to be okay? I let the silence stretch. I don't know, Nate, I said finally. You're just now waking up from a dream I've been choking in for 3 decades. That's not something I can forget just because you're finally rubbing the sleep from your eyes. He nodded. Slowly. Yeah. Okay. Fair. We stood there a moment longer. Then he turned to go. As he reached his car, he paused. Brooklyn told me about your wedding. That you and Lily are planning one. I stiffened. So? She asked if you were inviting Mom and Dad. Of course not. He nodded again. Good. That stopped me. Good? Yeah, he said. They don't deserve it. And then he drove off. I didn't know what to do with that. Still don't. But it was the first time in my life Nate didn't sound like Mom's echo. He sounded like someone trying to become someone. 2 weeks later, the wedding invitations went out, ours, not Nate's. Lily insisted we keep it simple. A mountain lodge, under 80 guests, no cake smashing or chicken dance. Just real vows, real people, and no forced smiles for people we secretly resented. That also meant no them. Not my mother. Not my father. Not even Nate, though he'd at least stopped being insufferable long enough to apologize. I didn't send them invites. They found out anyway. I should have known Mom was watching our mutual cousin's Instagram stories like a hawk. She saw the save the date magnet stuck to the fridge in the background of a brunch pic and lost her ever-loving mind. 3 days later, I got a formal envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, a printed letter with my mother's voice screaming through every serif font. I heard you're getting married. I assume our invitation was lost in the mail. If not, this is the final confirmation that you have chosen to erase us from your life. You don't get to shut out your parents just because you didn't get everything you wanted growing up. I actually laughed. Everything I wanted? Lady, I wanted a bunk bed that didn't smell like mildew and a birthday where I wasn't handed a clearance rack shirt with the tag still on. But the best part came at the end. You're making a mistake. One day you'll regret it. One day you'll realize that family is all you have. I folded it neatly and dropped it in our wedding planning binder under a new tab. Examples of why this is a no-contact ceremony. Lily saw me do it and said nothing. She just brought over a glass of wine and our tablecloth swatches. That same night, I got a message on LinkedIn. Yup, LinkedIn again. It was Dad this time. Kai, I know your mother can be emotional. But this is getting out of hand. Your mother cries every time someone mentions your name. She's devastated. Your brother is making real changes. Your family is trying. I think it's time you stop punishing us. Punishing. As if choosing peace is punishment. As if saying no is an act of violence. I didn't reply. I just forwarded the message to my lawyer. See, after Nate showed up at my job and Mom stalked Lily at her school, we'd retained a family attorney. Not to sue them, but to keep a paper trail. To protect our jobs, our home, and our sanity. The lawyer sent a cease and desist. Again. First one didn't stick, apparently. But this one hit harder. Because this time, I attached a copy of the wedding guest list with the phrase, "Unauthorized parties attempting to access this event will be removed by security." Lily read the draft and asked, "Too harsh?" I said, "Too polite." The next morning, Mom posted a Facebook status that was so passive-aggressive it could have won an Olympic medal. Weddings are about love, not division. Some people forget that. But that's okay, we still have hearts, even if theirs are missing. Blocked. Deleted. Moved on. And as we finalized our vows and debated whether Lily's cousin could handle the playlist responsibly, answer, no, I realized something wild. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done. Done explaining. Done proving. Done hoping they'd wake up. I was planning a life that didn't include apologies for existing. And the next person to knock on my door? Wasn't family. It was media. And things were about to get public. Fast. So here's the thing about cutting off toxic parents and refusing to fund your golden child brother's wedding: people talk. Especially in families like mine where secrets are currency and silence is tradition. I should have expected the story to leak, but I wasn't prepared for it to hit the local news. It started small. A lifestyle blog did a feature on weddings that break the mold, and somehow, our names ended up in there. Probably from one of Lily's more ambitious cousins. The piece painted us as a modern couple bucking family expectations in favor of chosen family. Nice spin, honestly. But it went viral. Like, Twitter thread with 10K retweets viral. Comments were flying in. Can we talk about how many of us are planning weddings without our parents? This man said no thanks to generational guilt, and honestly, I salute him. Then someone found Mom's Facebook meltdown. Screenshotted the status. Added it to the thread. Suddenly, strangers were dissecting my mother's grammar choices and arguing about emotional manipulation in the replies. I watched it happen like I was standing outside my own life, eating popcorn. Then the email came. From a major wedding podcast, like Top 10 on Spotify. Hi Kai, we'd love to have you on to talk about your experience with family estrangement, boundaries, and how you and your fiancé built a wedding around healing instead of guilt. I stared at it for 5 solid minutes before saying anything. Lily walked in, saw my face, and immediately said, "If your mother sent you a glitter bomb, I swear." "No," I said. "Worse. They want me to go viral on purpose." She grabbed my laptop, read the email, then looked at me. "You in?" I paused. "Do you think it's selfish to make this whole thing public?" "No," she said. "I think it's a service. People need to hear that it's okay to walk away. That you don't owe your abusers a photo op." So I went on. I told our story, well, my story. The podcast episode was titled, "When Cutting the Cake Means Cutting Ties." And it blew up. DMs flooded in. Strangers shared their stories. People said things like, "You helped me understand why I still feel guilty for saying no to Thanksgiving." Or, "I thought I was the only one who paid rent at 19 while my sibling lived for free." But it wasn't all support. One message from an anonymous account said, "You're a monster. You'll regret turning your back on the people who gave you life. Enjoy your karma." I smiled. Because for once, I didn't feel shaken. I felt free. My whole life, I'd been told I was too sensitive. That my anger was disproportionate. That I should just let it go. But now, I was letting it go. Just not the way they wanted. And with the wedding approaching fast, Lily and I were ready. But we were also bracing. Because if I knew my mother, and unfortunately I really did, she wasn't going to let this go quietly. And sure enough, the storm showed up. In heels. 3 days before the wedding, Lily and I were doing last-minute prep, fluffing seat covers, testing the fairy lights, taste testing cupcakes like our marriage depended on it, when the call came from the venue coordinator. She sounded rattled. "Hi Kai, small issue. A woman claiming to be your mother just came by. She said she wanted to see the space and make sure the linens matched the family colors." My blood pressure spiked so hard I tasted my childhood. "Did she give a name?" "She said it was her son's wedding. Wouldn't give a name, just said she had the right." "Of course she did." I asked what happened next. "Well, we told her we couldn't allow unapproved visitors, and she got loud. Threatened to call the news. Said you were making a mockery of your family name. She does love that line." I muttered. "We called security." The coordinator continued. "She left. But she said she'd be back with the truth." I thanked her, hung up, and sat in silence while my heart kicked at my ribs like it was trying to escape. Lily came in, saw my face, and didn't ask. She just picked up her phone and called the rental company. "Hi, yes, we'll need 2 more security staff on site this weekend. And can we make sure the entrance is closed to uninvited guests?" She didn't even look at me while doing it. Just handled it. Efficient. Steady. This is why I'm marrying her. The next day, it escalated. I got an email from my dad. Subject line: "We deserve a chance. Kai, I'm not going to argue with you. I know you're angry. I know you think we failed you. But this wedding is a big moment. For all of us. We've given you so much. Raised you. Fed you. You can't really believe we deserve to be shut out like this. Please let us come. Don't do something you'll regret." I stared at it, then forwarded it to my lawyer. Then I wrote back. "You did raise me. You also erased me. For 31 years I have watched you choose Nate's comfort over my dignity. I don't regret protecting my peace. I regret how long it took me to learn I was allowed to." No reply. Until 2 hours later, when Nate texted. "Dude. Mom just lost it. She's telling people she's going anyway. Says she'll make a scene worth remembering." I tried talking her down. He added, "I'm sorry." It was the second time he'd said it in a month. And it hit different this time. I replied, "If she shows up, security will remove her. I'm not bluffing." He texted back, "I know." And that was it. We didn't hear from them again before the wedding. But every hour that passed without drama felt like a countdown to something big. We were standing in the eye of the storm, calm for now. And then, on the actual day, it happened. The moment we'd feared. The door opened during the ceremony. And a shadow walked in. I saw the door open mid-vow. Lily's hand tightened around mine just slightly. She'd seen it too. Heads in the crowd started turning, the rustle of whispered concern spreading like a ripple across the stillness. And then, it wasn't my mother. It was Elena. My cousin. I actually exhaled so hard I nearly staggered. Elena had been the only family member to stay neutral through the chaos. She hadn't picked sides. She'd sent a short text 2 weeks before the wedding that said, "I love you. I'll stay out of the way. But I'm rooting for your peace." Now here she was, slipping into a seat in the back row alone, wearing a navy dress and an expression that said, "I'm not here for anyone but you." We carried on. Vows. Rings. A kiss that felt like a contract signed in firelight and decades of grit. The whole room erupted, our chosen family clapping, crying, celebrating the start of something that wasn't weighed down by ghosts. The ceremony flowed into the reception like honey into tea. Laughter. Stories. Lily's dad gave a toast that nearly broke me with its kindness. Our friends danced like they were trying to burn calories and trauma. The food was perfect. The music even better. It felt like someone had sliced a perfect day out of the calendar and handed it to us as a reward for surviving our pasts. And then, around 9 p.m., just as the lights dimmed for the first dance, one of the security staff walked over and leaned in close. "There's a woman at the gate," he said. "Claims to be your mother." I didn't freeze. Didn't flinch. Just looked him in the eye and said, "She's not invited." He nodded. "Do you want us to call the police?" "Not yet," I said. "Just remind her of the trespass warning. And tell her she can either walk away quietly, or be walked away." Lily heard all of it. Said nothing. Just looped her arm through mine and led me to the dance floor. We swayed to the music while I watched security escort my mother, yes, it was her, away from the gates. She wasn't crying. She wasn't shouting. She just stood there for a moment, staring and like she was trying to memorize what peace looked like from the outside. Then she turned around and left. And I didn't feel victory. I felt relief. Relief that the shield I'd built held. Relief that I hadn't let guilt drag me back into the fire. Relief that I was dancing with the woman I loved, surrounded by people who didn't ask me to earn my seat at the table. That night, after the lights dimmed and the cake was cut, Lily and I snuck out onto the balcony overlooking the woods behind the venue. The air smelled like pine and possibility. She leaned into me. "Do you feel it?" she whispered. I nodded. "Yeah." "What is it?" "Closure." We stood there a while longer, not saying much. Because sometimes, the loudest healing comes in the quietest rooms. I saw the door open mid-vow. Lily's hand tightened around mine just slightly, she'd seen it too. Heads in the crowd started turning, the rustle of whispered concern spreading like a ripple across the stillness. And then, it wasn't my mother. It was Elena. My cousin. I actually exhaled so hard I nearly staggered. Elena had been the only family member to stay neutral through the chaos. She hadn't picked sides. She'd sent a short text 2 weeks before the wedding that said, "I love you. I'll stay out of the way. But I'm rooting for your peace." Now here she was, slipping into a seat in the back row alone, wearing a navy dress and an expression that said, "I'm not here for anyone but you." We carried on. Vows. Rings. A kiss that felt like a contract signed in firelight and decades of grit. The whole room erupted, our chosen family clapping, crying, celebrating the start of something that wasn't weighed down by ghosts. The ceremony flowed into the reception like honey into tea. Laughter. Stories. Lily's dad gave a toast that nearly broke me with its kindness. Our friends danced like they were trying to burn calories and trauma. The food was perfect. The music even better. It felt like someone had sliced a perfect day out of the calendar and handed it to us as a reward for surviving our pasts. And then, around 9 p.m., just as the lights dimmed for the first dance, one of the security staff walked over and leaned in close. "There's a woman at the gate," he said. "Claims to be your mother." I didn't freeze. Didn't flinch. Just looked him in the eye and said, "She's not invited." He nodded. "Do you want us to call the police?" "Not yet," I said. "Just remind her of the trespass warning. And tell her she can either walk away quietly, or be walked away." Lily heard all of it. Said nothing. Just looped her arm through mine and led me to the dance floor. We swayed to the music while I watched security escort my mother, yes, it was her, away from the gates. She wasn't crying. She wasn't shouting. She just stood there for a moment, staring and like she was trying to memorize what peace looked like from the outside. Then she turned around and left. And I didn't feel victory. I felt relief. Relief that the shield I'd built held. Relief that I hadn't let guilt drag me back into the fire. Relief that I was dancing with the woman I loved, surrounded by people who didn't ask me to earn my seat at the table. That night, after the lights dimmed and the cake was cut, Lily and I snuck out onto the balcony overlooking the woods behind the venue. The air smelled like pine and possibility. She leaned into me. "Do you feel it?" she whispered. I nodded. "Yeah." "What is it?" "Closure." We stood there a while longer, not saying much. Because sometimes, the loudest healing comes in the quietest rooms. A week after the wedding, I got a card in the mail. No return address. But the handwriting hit me like a slap from childhood. It was my father's. Slanted, sharp, always a little too formal. Like even his words didn't want to get too close. Inside, a single sentence on expensive cardstock. "I hope one day you'll realize what you cost us." That was it. No signature. No apology. Just a veiled threat wrapped in guilt and dipped in calligraphy. Lily found me holding it, staring at nothing. "You okay?" she asked gently, arms already coming around me. I smiled, set the card down like it was contaminated. "Yeah. Honestly? Better than I thought I'd be. Because here's what I finally understood. I didn't cost them anything. They lost me by choice. They chose silence over apology. Pride over introspection. Control over love. And I chose peace. And peace, real peace, isn't quiet because it avoids conflict. It's quiet because it's done fighting. After the honeymoon, 2 weeks of mountain trails, sleepy bookstores, and the kind of slow mornings I didn't think I'd ever be allowed to have, we came home to our own version of normal. Lily went back to teaching. I went back to managing multi-million-dollar supply chains. We folded laundry. Argued about leftovers. Watched trashy reality shows and kissed during commercials. And not once did we speak about my family like they were inevitable. Because they're not. They're a past tense. One night, while I was going through old boxes, I found a photo. Me and Nate, maybe 5 and 9. Halloween. He's dressed like a cowboy. I'm a ghost. No makeup, just a sheet with eye holes. Even then, I'd already started disappearing. I put the photo back in the box. Taped it shut. Labeled it Archives. That's all they are now. Then, a few days later, a message came through LinkedIn again. Brooklyn this time. "Hey. Just wanted to say. I'm sorry for all of it. I didn't get it before. I do now. And for what it's worth, I think your wedding looked perfect." No notes. I stared at it a moment. Typed back. "Thanks. I hope your next chapter's better than the last." She replied. "Yeah. Me too. I'm not sure there's still going to be a wedding." I didn't ask for details. That wasn't mine to carry. But part of me hoped she followed through. Because if there was ever a woman who understood now what enabling looks like, it was Brooklyn. The week ended with a dinner. Me. Lily. Elena. Her girlfriend. A few friends. Some leftovers and too much wine. We played cards. Told stories. Someone cried laughing at a dumb impression I did of Nate. And for the first time in my life, I realized I hadn't lost a family. I'd just finally stopped pretending I had one. About 2 months after the wedding, I was at the grocery store, just grabbing stuff for taco night, when I heard a voice I hadn't heard in over a year. "Kai!" I turned. It was Aunt Renee, my mom's older sister. Sharp tongue, always wore perfume like she was trying to fumigate a room. She used to babysit us when we were kids and talk about my potential, like it was a stock she regretted not buying. Now, she looked me up and down like she was trying to decide whether to scold or sympathize. "I haven't seen you in forever," she said, like I'd been the one dodging family barbecues. "You look good." "Thanks," I said, scanning my salsa like it was going to give me an excuse to leave. She leaned in. "So it's true? You really cut everyone off?" I just looked at her. "I didn't cut anyone. I just stopped bleeding for them." She blinked. "You know your mother still cries about you." I shrugged. "She cried when I got a B+ in 5th grade. It doesn't mean she's right." Renee's mouth twisted like she'd bit a lemon. "You were always dramatic." "No," I said calmly. "I was always ignored until I stopped performing for approval. Now you're just not used to the silence." She didn't like that. "You know, you weren't the only one who had it hard growing up. You think you're the first kid who didn't feel seen?" No, I said. But I might be the first one who refused to shrink just to stay loved. She didn't reply. I paid for my groceries. Left her standing there in front of the discount rotisserie chickens like some metaphor I didn't ask for. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and laughed. Not bitter, not even surprised, just free. That's the thing nobody tells you about going no contact. People think the hard part is the goodbye. It's not. The hard part is sticking to it when the grief gets quiet. When people show up with guilt and revisionist history and, "But she's your mom," speeches. And you have to look them in the eye and say, "Not anymore." That night, Lily found me reorganizing our kitchen drawers. She raised an eyebrow. Nervous breakdown or victory lap? Just thinking, I said, about how far I had to come just to feel regular. She hugged me from behind, chin on my shoulder. This is what regular feels like. I didn't reply. I just exhaled. Not because I was finished healing, but because I finally knew I didn't have to apologize for needing to. The last time I heard from Nate was a text. No emojis, no dramatic capitalization. Just, Brooklyn called it off. I sat with that for a minute. Not out of shock, honestly, I'd expected it, but because of what came after. She said I still have a lot of growing to do. That she doesn't want to marry a project. Oof. Then the next message. I don't blame her. She's right. That part did surprise me. I stared at the screen, thumbs hovering. The version of me from a year ago would have replied with something biting. A little. Guess the basement lease just got extended. Or, you're finally out of one woman's house, at least. But I didn't. I just sent. Good luck, Nate. That was it. No bridges rebuilt. No doors reopened. Just a nod, like two travelers crossing at the same fork in the road, each going their separate way. Because I meant it. Not out of brotherly love, but out of human decency. For the first time, he wasn't defending the family line. He was just a guy, standing in the ruins of all the shortcuts he thought would save him, realizing the hard road might have been worth it after all. And I'd been there. Lily read the messages and didn't say much, just handed me the bowl of popcorn we were sharing and said, "Closure's weird, huh?" I nodded. Yeah. It's quiet. No music swells. No fade to black. Just, less weight. Later that week, a package showed up at our door. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakable, my mother's again. Inside was a photo album. Not a guilt gift. No letter. Just photos of me as a kid, playing with blocks, grinning with missing teeth, sitting on the porch with a dog we'd had for less than a month. No captions. Just frozen moments. I showed Lily. What do you think this means? She asked. I said. It means she wants me to remember the version of her that loved me. And do you? I looked at the photos again. I remember trying to believe she did. I sealed the album back up. Placed it on a shelf, not in the trash, not on display. Just filed. Like an old report card from a school I transferred out of a long time ago. Because healing isn't always burning things. Sometimes it's just learning not to reach for them anymore. 3 months after the wedding, I got a message from a name I hadn't seen since high school. Mr. Carter. My old math teacher. Weird, right? He said he'd listened to the podcast. Apparently his daughter was a fan and sent it to him. His message was short. Didn't realize what you were carrying back then. Wish I'd noticed. You were always sharp. Just quiet. Hope life's better now. You deserve that. It hit me harder than I expected. Because that's what we forget sometimes. When you grow up being minimized, even basic acknowledgement feels revolutionary. I showed the message to Lily, who smiled and said, "That's the kind of extra credit that actually matters." That weekend, I did something I hadn't done in over a decade. I visited my old childhood neighborhood. Not to feel nostalgic. Not to mope. Just to see. I parked in front of the house I grew up in. The siding had been redone. New shutters. Different car in the driveway. Different family inside, I'm sure. But the tree in the front yard? Still there. The one I used to climb when I needed to escape. When I'd sit for hours in the branches with a paperback and a bag of crackers, pretending I was somewhere else. Looking at it now, I realized something. That version of me, the one hiding in that tree, trying to disappear, he was never wrong. He wasn't dramatic. Or oversensitive. Or ungrateful. He was just alone in a house full of people who couldn't see him. And now? Now he gets to go home to someone who does. I didn't get out of the car. Didn't take a picture. Didn't need to. I just whispered, "You made it," and drove away. Because sometimes healing doesn't look like confrontation or closure or cinematic reunions. Sometimes it looks like driving past the place you thought you'd die in, and feeling absolutely nothing but the wind through your open window. It was a lazy Sunday when Lily surprised me with a binder. She plopped it on the coffee table with a dramatic "Ta-da!" and said, "Your life, organized. You're welcome." I opened it and found tabbed sections: house, bills, warranties, health, pets, passwords, even one labeled "Important emotional stuff, do not skip." She'd basically turned our life into a user manual. Color-coded. Laminated. Efficient. "Don't take this the wrong way," I said, flipping through, "but you might be the sexiest control freak I've ever met." She smirked. "I know." Under the "important emotional stuff" tab, I found a short handwritten note. Just a page. No dramatic monologue, just one sentence. "I love the version of you that doesn't need to prove anything." I didn't even try to pretend I wasn't emotional. Just sat there, holding it like it was a piece of proof that the universe hadn't been trying to break me. It was just waiting for me to walk away from the wrong people. And if my entire childhood had been a long audition for love, this was the moment I realized I'd finally been cast in my own story. Later that night, while Lily was grading papers and half watching reruns, I started my own binder. It didn't have tabs or color codes. It wasn't laminated. It didn't smell like gel pens and emotional clarity. But the title I scribbled on the front? New Legacy. Inside, I started collecting things that felt like us. Photos from the wedding, not the posed ones, the candid ones where we're laughing mid-toast or slow dancing while eating cupcakes. Printouts of nice emails from coworkers and friends. Notes that said things like, "Thanks for having my back," or "You made that meeting bearable." A copy of the first rent check I paid at 19, and the final one I ever had to send before buying our home. A post-it Lily once stuck on my mirror that just said, "You're not broken. You're just early." It wasn't a revenge folder. It wasn't a trophy case. It was proof that I wasn't the failure they once framed me as. I was the guy who made it. Not to the top of some mountain of perfection, but to the middle of a life that finally fit. No begging. No auditions. No more shrinking to make room for other people's comfort. Just space. Just air. Just me, fully here. And the best part? I was just getting started. Sometimes, I catch myself smiling at nothing. In line at the store. Driving home. Folding laundry with Lily. Not because life's perfect, it's not. But because it's mine now. Fully mine. I don't think about what I lost anymore. I think about what I stopped settling for. No more shrinking. No more auditioning for love I already earned. My family still exists. Just not in my life. And that's okay. Some stories aren't about reunions. Some are about escapes. Lily calls it our quiet empire. Built on boundaries. Protected by peace. Every dinner we cook together, every inside joke, every night we fall asleep without fear, it all says the same thing. We survived them. And we didn't just survive, we became. So no, I don't miss them. I don't regret choosing distance over damage. And if my mom still wishes I was never born? Good news. The version of me who needed her isn't.